Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be talking to you today. I'm Dr. Lilach Saperstein. I'm an audiologist and host of the All About Audiology podcast. And I'm excited to be here with you on Facebook and on Instagram to talk about something that is so close to my heart and has been, years in the making and such a beautiful culmination of so many efforts, and that is the H.E.A.R retreat. The H.E.A.R retreat is back. We had the very first one in April, and now the next one is coming in July. So, hello to everybody joining. Hey, on Insta, on Facebook. What I want to talk to you about today is why I even started and thought about and came up with and created the H.E.A.R retreat. And that is because I saw and spoke to so many parents like yourselves whose children are deaf or hard of hearing or had any encounter with audiology or had any questions about their child's hearing. And as an audiologist, I would see these parents also, in the clinic, in the school, family, friends. Once you do something, everybody wants, you know about hearing. Let me send you my questions about my kid's hearing test and things like that. So, I started to see within clinic, outside of clinic, in school and online, like from all different angles, what were the questions that parents really had, or the issues and questions and things that people were dealing with and grappling with. They were a lot bigger than just audiology questions. They were a lot more intense and important and deep than, can you read this report and explain it to me? Even though I was doing that, it was often the next level question of, and therefore, how does this information impact my ability to connect with my child? And even if they weren't asking that question, that is what was underneath their question. And how will my child be able to communicate with friends? And how will they access their education and communication with others? And so, for me, it was always this kind of holistic, getting into this field was about those bigger questions, about how to support people and their communication needs. And then doing the studies brought me into like a fine, detailed, nitty-gritty, very specific, very intense course of study. But then after getting all of that knowledge and information, saying, how do we now apply this to better the lives of people and help families? So that was a lot of the original intent of what was happening for me in my first few years out of school. It was remembering that I went into this real deep, and now I kind of need to come up for air and look at everything from up above. And that's where a lot of H.E.A.R retreat comes from. Oh, thank you. It's quite a journey. It is the journey of life, is always, reevaluating and reflecting and tweaking and changing. And that's true in our parenting as well. For those of you who don't know, I'm a mother of 3 young daughters who are 7, almost 5, and 3 years old, and they're delicious. And if there's anything I've learned as a parent the last 7 years, it is that A, nobody knows what they're doing, and we're all trying our best, and B, it's going to change. So whatever stage you're in, or whatever issue or question you're facing today, is going to be a different one in 3 months. It's going to be a different one in 3 years. And I surely am unprepared for what is coming as my children grow older. But, the mentality and outlook that whatever is happening for you right now feels like it is everything, and it is, because it's important right now to get the information, the resources, whether that's about how to help them sleep, or what, and nutrition and feeding and all of that stuff, or, the toddler tantrums, or learning to read, or teenage issues, like whatever it is that you're facing at that moment, it is important. And you don't just, I'm not saying, it's going to change, so just ignore it. No, I'm saying it is the issue of the day. And I hope that you can find resources and support and advice and help and experts on your side and information that can help you get through those stages. And then in a bit, you'll come up against a new, the next challenge, the next frontier, if you will, in your parenting and in your relationship with your child. So I'll talk a little bit about the H.E.A.R retreat and what I teach throughout the H.E.A.R retreat, and what you'll be able to learn and walk away from and really implement immediately throughout the free retreat that you can sign up for. Link in my bio. allaboutaudiology.com/retreat. There's a link in the comments as well on Facebook. And so that's a free 7-day retreat where we meet on Zoom for 1 hour with a group of people like you, other parents throughout the world, who are asking themselves the big questions around, their parenting relationship and the ability to advocate for your child and being able to speak up for them, but at the same time going through your own journey of understanding what this all means for you. So we have the H.E.A.R retreat stands for 4 things, H-E.A.R. The H is about the history, where we dive back a little bit and get a sense of what came before and what are the things, the stories, the very difficult things, possibly experiences that you've had, you as a parent, you as a family, your child, and what's the history that's there. Because often we talk about our medical history or audiology history, and it's very technical, it's very, by the book, but there's this whole other thing, this whole other version of our history that's, our experiences, sometimes our traumas and our triumphs, and what came before. So we really talk about setting the groundwork for what came before us, what's the past, also like the history of the family, big stuff. So we start pretty high up broad, right, up at history. The next day we talk about emotions and how important it is for us to understand our emotions, our feelings, and start there with ourselves in order to then also understand our kids and understand any of our other relationships, and how when we bring the emotions back into the table and say, hey, there's a grief process here for you, then that's what's happening. Like, many times people move around their attention, like, no, I need to be very technical. I'm in an appointment with a professional. Here are my questions. And there's no room at all for how you're feeling, what questions you have about what this is going to look like for your family and for your life, right? So that's what the day that we're going to really be diving into, how to do some of that work of addressing, acknowledging, and supporting yourself and your feelings, and supporting your child and their feelings. The next day, H-E-A. The A is for advocacy. And I'll teach you my signature method, the FIG method for advocating, which is so powerful. Every time that I teach it, I've taught it in a couple of workshops with chapters of Hands and Voices in different states. I've taught it to groups of parents and groups of professionals, all about how do you know when to advocate and what to say, and how to change your language when you're in front of different people. Like the way you're going to talk to your mother-in-law is going to be very different than the way you talk to their teacher, which is going to be very different from how you talk to other kids, and advocating for your child and their social, environment. So that is a very awesome day. Do not miss about the Advocacy Day. And the R in here is all about reconnecting. And it is not forgetting that the goal of everything else on the H.E.A.R retreat and in all of my work and everything we do together is always about being able to reconnect with your child, reconnect with yourself, and building that really special bond. Because the All About Audiology podcast, if you've heard, for the last, what are we up to, 70 episodes or so, we are always talking about how this matters. Like, we're talking about how to do testing on children. Okay, but why and how? And how is this going to impact your experience of going to get your hearing tests for your child? Are we talking about educational placements and goals and language outcomes? Okay, but how does that help you then connect with your child? It always, I really aim to always bring it back to the reconnecting part and really feeling in your body the embodied connection that we have and the responsibility that we have to do that. So as an audiologist, it might be a little bit, open more than other encounters you might have, meetings you might have with clinical audiologists and educational audiologists. And I believe that we can take some of the extra, this other side of the path, this parallel path that happens. Like, definitely, you need to have your clinical audiologist and educational audiologist, and I hope they're awesome. I hope you're getting like a good connection with them and feel that they're moving you and your child forward. But they also are very stressed for time, pressed for time, right? And not always do they have the full time and relationship to do a lot of this other stuff that comes with this journey, which is, the emotional side of understanding what's happening for you and your child, what are your options, doing a lot of that shared decision making, making sure you're really, really informed. Recently, I did a workshop presentation together with Language First, all about cochlear implants. And it was the framing of the presentation was about how much are parents really informed about what's to come. How much do people know, and what are the surprises or the myths or unexpected things that come along with cochlear implants that parents may not be aware of. And that's kind of the part of the online work, the podcast, and the H.E.A.R retreat that I'm all about. And I really, really hope that you'll join and come and get a taste of a different way of, another way of engaging with the topic of audiology and with your journey and your experience. Many parents say that they came into this journey or this field with their child and feeling like they kind of are stepping on eggshells. They don't really know what's the right thing to say, what's the wrong thing to say. How do you ask the question even before getting attacked, like from different sides of different arguments? Like, you kind of walk into this new world and you're a newbie, but you also really care about your child and want to do right by them. So then you have professionals, whether they be doctors and audiologists or teachers or early intervention or whoever else, who tells you, okay, this is what you need to do. Here's the advice. And your next steps, A, B, C, D. And so you kind of listen, but you also don't know. Like, you just got here, don't maybe even know all these words. Or maybe you're further along in your path and your kids are grown and you're starting to see, hey, did those things that we were told to do or that we brought into our family, are they working? How do we evaluate what's going on now, given that it's been a couple of years and our child is growing up? And how is it working out? Are there any changes we want to make? How do we make any of those transitions? So I really hope that this is a place throughout the H.E.A.R retreat to not only come and really dive into these topics of the history in your I really, really be very excited to see you there.